introduce our next speaker. This is Bethany Schweitzer. I have gotten to know Bethany personally over the last year or so, and we've had opportunities to work together on branding for her company. And many of you probably are aware of Olentangy River Brewing. It's one of my favorite places to hang out and work. And so I'm looking forward to hearing Bethany tell her story about her job.
Thanks.
There you go.
And I have to say, the irony is John is the one who introduced us, because I was sitting at the bar the day I realized we needed to rebrand. There was like we were offered something. And so I'm like, well, what do you do? And he was like, okay, I don't really have the bandwidth to rebrand as quickly as you need to, but you need to meet Jeremy. So it all worked out. Thanks, John. Well, I'm excited to share with you about my journey of becoming a co-owner of a craft brewery. If you asked me 20 years ago if I would own a craft brewery, I would have been like, what? No way. I would never do anything like that. About 10 years ago, my husband and I started throwing around this crazy idea of like, we could own a craft brewery. This could be really cool. We could create something, a space for community. But then we decided, you know what, it's a little bit, we didn't want to bite off that much. So we became investors in another craft brewery in the area. And then after that, we decided we still had that nagging feeling that maybe this is something we should do. Prior to this, for the last 17 years, I've run my own successful college consulting company. My husband's the COO of a successful political advertising company. And so we were like, we do have kind of the skill set of running a business, so maybe it's not so scary to start this craft brewery. And through this project, one thing we found out, which is really cool, is we really love working together. Even though he didn't want to speak with me today. I don't understand what that's about. He actually sent Jeremy a note back saying Exodus 4:10. You guys can look it up. That is why he is not here. But through this, we ended up buying a foreclosure house and decided to completely renovate that. And we loved it. You know, how many married couples can say that? We've done all these stressful projects together, and we actually really, really enjoy working together. So how it all started. Basically, as a small group of friends, we went in pursuit of great craft beer with greater camaraderie in our own community and discovered it didn't exist, at least not in the way we wanted it to. So we would get together with friends. We'd have these big beer tastings. We would travel around the country and bring back things for different people to try. Our kids would be running around. It was chaos. It was amazing. We loved every second of it. But it's through this that maybe we got the nudge that we needed. Soon our what if questions started. It was, what if we could get great craft brews, beer, and coffee in the same space? I personally absolutely used to adore a coffee shop here in Columbus called Scotty McBean's. I don't know if anybody remembers it. It's in Worthington. Yes, see, it was amazing. I lived there when I was in law school. It was my study place. It was my happy place. And there really wasn't anything like it on the north end of Columbus. So that was one thing we started asking. If we could create an environment that felt like home but also an escape. If we could be a hub of community that didn't feel like a bar, we could bring our kids along. And I will tell you, our kids were everywhere. In the ownership team, we had 11 children between all of us. And so that was a lot of small children running around. We came up with our answer, a craft brewery that serves great beer, great coffee, and a greater good, one that creates community and serves it well in an inviting space where all are welcome. And that's something that we really try to lean into. So when we are making decisions, is this a space for everyone? So we ran into some questions though. When you're starting a brewery, you need a brewer. And my husband and I, while we had made some craft brews at home, we didn't want to share them with anybody because either you were going to be really nice and lie to us and tell us they were amazing, or you would tell us how terrible they were because we really knew that they were terrible. We also needed investors because starting a craft brewery is expensive. So we started asking around, does anybody know anybody that makes beer or is wanting to be a brewer of a brewery? And through 3 different connections, we found our head brewer. His name is Enrique Iglesias. He wants to be your hero. So if you come by, you can actually try our hero beer by Enrique Iglesias. And so he had been a head brewer of a brewery in Puerto Rico. called the Kai. His wife got a job transfer to Columbus, Ohio, for Cardinal Health, and he was driving Uber at the time, waiting for the right opportunity to come along. So, prayers answered there. Then we needed investors. So we did this amazing investor launch. That was actually, at the time, we had a nanny. That's her parents' barn. It's amazing. And so we did this launch party in their barn, and after a week, we were almost fully invested. So we had almost all of our money pledged after 1 week. And we had gone through, my husband, like the minute this idea came and our friends were like, you know what, we should open a craft brewery, he put together a business plan. He did market analysis to see, is this viable? And we were like, yes, it is. It's a viable option because there is nothing like it in Lewis Center. So we also decided we needed a coffee partner because none of us really did coffee. I mean, I love Scotty McBean's, but I don't know anything about roasting coffee. So one of our business partners was good friends with Kenny Sipes, so he decided, he reached out to Kenny and said, you know what, Kenny, we've got this idea in Lewis Center, Ohio. Do you want to go on a journey with us and partner with us and create a Olentangy River Brewing Company, Roosevelt Coffee House? And we went back and forth, and Kenny said, yeah, you know what? I think that we have very aligned missions and values. If you don't know anything about the Roosevelt Coffee House, things that we loved about them is they are really passionate about giving back to the community and leaning into nonprofits. They really support accessing clean water, fighting hunger and food insecurity, and fighting human trafficking. Our royalty check that we send them actually goes directly to their nonprofit. So when you come in and buy coffee from us, the portion of those proceeds are going to the nonprofit at the Roosevelt Coffee House. So that really kind of lended into what we were wanting to do of creating a space of community and giving back to the community. So the next thing we had to tackle was finding a building. Doesn't that look nice? Have you guys been in our space? Doesn't it look different? It was amazing. So finding a building ended up being a lot harder than we thought it would be, mainly because, real estate was fairly scarce in Lewis Center, Ohio. We couldn't be within so many feet of a school. There were all kinds of laws pertaining to liquor, or we didn't have our liquor license at the time, but just to beer and the manufacturing of beer. So we found our building. So if you guys have ever been there, it's kind of a little bit off the beaten path for being a coffee shop, but it is a big building. We needed a space that was big enough for tanks, that could hold the weight of the tanks, and that was tall enough. And so we found this great building. It looks so much different now. And this is us. That was demo day. And then over here, that's me, I'm painting. So we put the sweat and sweat equity that day. It was Labor Day weekend. We had a bunch of investors show up. We had all the owners show up, and everybody was painting the building. That was us knocking $30,000 off of what our build-out price was because we were running out of money. Story for another day, friends, story for another day. So when we got the green light to open, we were like, we need to open because, you're just bleeding cash until the day you open your business. And so we were like, all hands on deck. We need everybody in here now because we got to clean, and we can't afford cleaners. And so, so here we are. We've got family, friends, investors, everybody in here helping us get the brewery all ready to open. And I have to say, going through these photos was just so heartwarming. I loved it. One of those little girls is mine, and she's tiny, and today she's 5'7" and bigger than me, and she's not tiny anymore. So, but it was fun just going back and seeing this process. And speaking of my kids, one of the things that I loved this summer through this process, my kids have seen my husband and I put in hard work, but it's taught them that they can dream big. It's not scary. You can open a business. If you see something that you want to do, go after it. It's, that's what I want them to do. And they even said, we were talking about another business venture, and my kid looked at me and she's like, what's funny is a lot of people's parents, they talk about doing something and then it just never turns into anything. She's like, it's a good 65% chance you guys are gonna actually do this. And I was like, Yeah, that's fair. Totally fair. These are the things your parents do. So this is us getting ready for opening day. This is all of us at opening day cutting the ribbon. It was a really exciting day. Funny, it's like a whole small world thing going on here today. Jeremy Locks in Jeremy's video earlier, that was in the brew house area on opening day, his Icelandic exposures event. And if you go in our brew house at some point and you see the greenery wall, he gave us all of the things that he had put his photos on, and we created a nice big green wall from it. So there you go. So on that day, I'm thankful to the people that told me, slow down, look around, and enjoy it, because it was chaos. And it was, so many people showed up to support us, and it was such an amazing experience. So here's what it looks like on the inside after everything. So what was funny when I pulled this slide, I was like, we used to have moments where we were the only people in the brewery, even during the day. I don't think I've been alone in the brewery in a solid 3 years. So that's kind of cool. But we wanted to create a gathering space and tasting room, not a bar. We wanted friends, families, and kids all welcome. We also wanted to challenge the status quo, the way we set our company up. We're actually predominantly female owned, okay? And we are a minority. Only 26% of the craft breweries in the United States are predominantly female owned. And I will tell you, I go to female owned brewing events all the time, and yeah, we're kind of a minority group, but it's really cool. We also are one of the only breweries with a Puerto Rican brewmaster, so that's cool as well. Something else that we do that's neat is we craft beer careers. Like, we employ, if you come into our brewery, the people that are waiting on you, most of them are full-time. And so we decided we wanted to invest in the people that are working behind the bar and creating the experience for the people that come in. And so most of them are on benefits, they get retirement, and a lot of them have been with us for more than 2 years, which in a high turnover job, that's huge. We're environmentally conscious. We have a farmer that actually comes and gets all of our spent grains. I went to high school with him. We try to just collaborate with as many different local businesses. So here we are creating some community. If you're looking for something to do in Columbus, Ohio, join our run club. They are really fun. This picture cracks me up because they had class photo evening, and they had like a blue like screen behind them, and they all went and took like high school class photos. It was hilarious. And so they're really fun. Next weekend, 2 of our staff members are getting married. So if you come out to our brewery on Saturday night, our run club is going to be pouring beers because everybody else is going to be at the wedding. So that's something that I love. I also love that our staff have created their own community as well. Thursday nights after we close, whole group of them play Dungeons and Dragons back in the brew house together. So it's a fun group. Our regulars, we have a number of regulars that have really invested back in us, and they go and they help at beer festivals for us, because a lot of times we can't be multiple places at once. Things I love seeing in our space, weekly networking groups, and it's the same groups coming over and over again. I love moms having coffee. I love people studying together, and I love seeing the Bible studies and people praying together. Again, all are welcome in our space, and that's something that we really take to heart. So, and this is one of my favorite parts of our rebrand that Jeremy put together. This is our arrowhead, and I love that the Olentangy River goes through it. And these are all of the communities and tributaries that go around off of it, and you can see our arrowhead is where we are located. So I thought that was a really neat rebrand project. So this is one of my favorite pictures of our brewery when it's at night and the sun is going down. So some things that I love about owning a craft brewery. My day never looks the same. I love that I get to walk in and it's a different project every single day. Currently, I'm filling the roles of the shoes of our salesperson. Our salesperson left us at the beginning of August, and I have been doing sales. I didn't know I wanted to do sales, but I got to. I like the days where I have to be climbing up ladders and fixing the security system, fixing, the Wi-Fi. I don't mind that. I don't mind installing a new point of sale system. I love meeting with our landscape designers to imagine our outdoor space. And I love it when I have to work on negotiating prices and things like that. So I love all of the different problems that come with, and triumphs that come with owning a craft brewery and coffee shop. So thanks for letting me share with you about my adventure. Sure.
All right, hop over here with me. All right, if you haven't had a chance, go ahead and scan your QR code and submit a question. So the first question I've got is from Caleb, and it says, what was it like to work with my amazingly talented dad on your... No, that's not... Actually, no. So we haven't gotten one in yet, so I do wanted to ask you a question. For those who have not ever been in your establishment, can you just kind of describe the atmosphere and the vibe and how it changes throughout the day?
Yeah.
I think that's probably my favorite part about your place.
No, that's a really cool thing when you're sitting there. We do it intentionally. So in the morning, it feels like a coffee shop vibe. It is like that Scotty McBean's vibe going. Like people are studying, people with laptops. And then at about 3:30 in the afternoon, you're going to notice the music changes. It gets a little louder, and it feels more like a brewery. But still, we want it to be comfortable. Like I don't want people shouting over each other and not being able to hear their friend. But we're trying to change that vibe into that more craft brewery vibe.
All right, I've got one more question for you. So, what's next? What do you think is next? Now that you've kind of got this place up and running, and you've got, you've built this community here, what's next?
That's really a great question, and I don't quite have the answer to it. One of our big goals with the brewery is to be a debt-free brewery. We own our building, which is huge. We own all of our equipment. And right now we still have a mortgage, and when that's paid off, that's when the what next can be answered. But what we found is the downfall of a lot of breweries is the fact that they keep growing, but they keep taking on debt, taking on debt, and they just don't, then all of a sudden they still owe all of this, but they have nothing to show for it. So we would like to be debt free, and then we will look for the next thing.
Nice. All right. So, I did just get a question from Mark. He said, would you host a poetry open mic night and a book signing? That's awfully specific.
Yeah, that was really specific. So my taproom manager handles all of that. His email is darren@olentangbrew.com.
Yep. And Darren's a nice guy, too.
He is a nice guy.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Bethany, for sharing your story with us. We appreciate it.